What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Armchair All American. I'm your host, T. Lee. Man, it's the big one. We previewing Texas at Alabama today. This is the game everybody's been waiting on in college football for the early part of the season, anyway. This is the one that everybody has circled on their calendar. ESPN College Game Day is going to be in town. You got Kirk Herbstreit and what's my boy name? I forget dude's name or whatever. Shout out to him. But they on the call. Anytime you get Kirk Herbstreit calling your game, it's a big deal. It's 6 o'clock Central Time in Tuscaloosa. So Texas is under the lights on the road at Bama. You got Sark versus Saban. You got Jalen Milroe, ex Texas commit, getting the start against the team that he grew up rooting for with Vince Young posters on the wall and all that type of stuff. And people when he was committed, thinking like, damn, this the next Vince Young. I'll keep it real. Being a black Texas fan, that's kind of what you. I'm not gonna say what you prefer, but it is something that excites you as a black Texas fan when you see a black quarterback who's mobile, committed to the University of Texas with a strong arm. When I saw the kid in high school and seen the recruiting tapes and the huddles and everything, I immediately thought about Vince and was like, nah, we can get some done with this kid. We can win some shit with this kid. I mean, that didn't change just because he wasn't committed to Texas anymore. When he flipped to Bama, I was like, damn, okay. Well, if Bama get a Vince Young, can you imagine that type of shit? So that's one of those where you definitely got a lot of respect for Jalen Milroe getting his first big time start against the Texas Longhorns. That's kind of ironic in a sense, but yeah, man, Texas is coming in at number 11, unimpressive offensive showing against Rice. That's why they didn't move up, even though we had a couple of top 10 upsets. Texas stayed put at number 11 and got jumped by some teams because I think just for the voters and people, anybody who watched, they didn't pass the eyeball test offensively, which is, kind of disconcerting based on the preseason hype surrounding the offense and returning five starters on the offensive line, and Quinn Ewell is now supposed to have full control and full command of the playbook and everything. So it didn't come to fruition in game one, but that's why it's a 12 game season minimum, for everybody. Bama jumps up to number three after a 56-7 win over Middle Tennessee State. Jalen Milroe was impressive, running, throwing the deep ball. The offensive line kind of seemed like they may have had a little bit of problems with some stunts and some movements thrown at them by the Middle Tennessee State front. But all in all, I mean, them big ass boys, they wasn't gonna do too much struggling with Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State just don't got the horses to throw at them like that. So, I mean, Bama handled business. The defense looked like a Bama defense. I mean, we know that they're gonna be strong. They're well coached, disciplined. And I wouldn't necessarily say that they're primed to be as dominant as we got accustomed to seeing Bama be in early 2010s and some of the more recent teams. But it's a good defense. It's an Alabama defense. They're talented kids. Saban's gonna coach them up. They're gonna have a crowd behind them. They're gonna be ready. So I mean, we're set up for a great matchup. It's got all the storylines to it. Like I said, the Saban versus the assistants, Milroe wanting to be in Texas and then flipping to Bama, Sark returning to Tuscaloosa. People down the Texas offense. It's the Texas offensive line ready for this. It's set up to be a great college football atmosphere. Hopefully, the game lives up to the hype because if it does, then we get another classic. We got the classic in Austin with Bama winning 20-19 on a last minute drive engineered by Bryce Young, the player of that game. Everybody remembers Ryan Watts coming off that corner on the corner blitz. Bryce Young looking dead to rights. But 5 seconds later, first down Bama, damn field goal. Bama wins. They get out of Austin 20-19. So just we gonna go position by position, or unit by unit rather, offense, defense, what have you, and just kind of take a look at where we think they're at, and then I'm gonna get a prediction, and we gonna get up out of here. So I'm gonna start with the Bama offense. Um, Tommy Reese is taking over for Bill O'Brien. Um, that's to me, it's a storyline, but it's not a storyline. I'm more so interested in seeing how Tommy Reese runs the Alabama system in a big time game versus a worthy opponent. I say the Alabama system because I truly believe that Alabama doesn't necessarily change offensive philosophies and what they're doing and everything, the terminologies. They just change the guy who's coordinating it. So Tommy Reese is the guy who's coordinating it now. We'll see how it looks. I think it'll be hard to do worse than Bill O'Brien was, but Bill O'Brien also had a Bryce Young there who, to be real, did Bryce Young shit for the most part, and it made it work. Um, Jalen Milroe, the quarterback, he was had a three-way starter battle during fall camp with Ty Buckner and Ty Simpson, and he came out as the starter. I don't think there's any question that he should be the starter. He's the obviously presents the best chance right now for Alabama to win, for Alabama to be, back in the playoff and back contending for a championship. And you can kind of tell, just paying attention to Coach Saban, that they got real goals this year. I think everybody remembers David Pollock in the national championship game, sitting there in Saban's face and kind of telling him that, hey, Georgia runs shit now. That's not what he said, but that's essentially what he said. And Saban took that personally. If you on some Jordan meme shit, so he took that personally and is kind of, you could tell he believes in this team, believes in what he has, and Saturday night is kind of the first time for him to prove like, hey, I'm working with some shit this year. So, you know, that's part of Milroe's appeal and allure to Coach Nick Saban and the Alabama fans is he presents the best chance to win right now, and he poses a threat that not many Alabama quarterbacks prior to him have posed. Bryce Young could get it done with his legs, but he was more so of a pocket passer and kind of carve you up with his accuracy. Uh, Jalen Hurts comes to mind. That's the style that he's closest to. If you want to talk about a player, and if we look at what Jalen Hurts is doing in the NFL right now, what he was able to do at Oklahoma when he transferred there, I mean, nobody on the Texas sideline is going to sit there and jump for joy when you compare that man to Jalen Hurts. You compare him to a dangerous man. So, the receivers, Jermaine Burton, Ja'Cory Brooks, Isaiah Bond, Malik Benson, a couple of other guys, they're deep and talented at receiver. Me personally, I think they're more fast and athletic at receiver than they are technical. So breaking in a new quarterback, uh, that can that's an opportunity for Texas there when you look at it from a perspective of, okay, is the timing down packed? Is the are they going to run the right route every play? Or are they breaking off routes when they need to, sitting down in zones, getting open, and being on the same page with Milroe and he's rolling out in the scramble drill and all that type of stuff. Those are the type of things that if these kids aren't as technical as they are talented, it can break down if you got good pass rush or some pressure is getting to Milroe, and it's kind of he's placed in an unfamiliar situation as a starter in a pressure game. Tight end, they got C.J. Dupre, the Maryland transfer. He was talented. I think damn near everybody in the country was after him when he jumped into the portal. J.C. Latham at right tackle, he's going pro. Caden Proctor at left tackle, projected freshman All American. So they're good on the bookends. Maybe Caden Proctor, uh, being a freshman, is a soft spot in the O line for Texas to exploit. But I mean, everybody was after him in recruiting, so it's not a situation where you sit there and just think like, oh yeah, we got Kelvin Banks and nobody else can find another Kelvin Banks. That's not how the shit works. If we can believe in Kelvin Banks as a freshman, they can believe in Caden Proctor as a freshman at left tackle, and He seems like he's ready to get shit done. The running backs, um, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, Jam Miller, Justice Haynes is the young pup, but he's talented as well. I mean, they got some go getters. They got some go getters in the backfield. I do think they kind of want to assert their will if they can and run the ball. But that's gonna be the key. The key matchup in this game is the Alabama offensive line versus the Texas defensive line, and so how that stacks up will probably be the deciding factor in how the game goes. So, that's what we're looking at with the Bama offense. Getting to the Texas defense, the D line looked great on Saturday against Rice, and I know y'all saying, "Motherfuckers against Rice," but you kind of can just tell, like, when you playing an over, when you're playing paying an over, shit, when you're playing an opponent that you're supposed to overwhelm, and you consistently overwhelm them for 4 quarters, that's impressive regardless who it is. If it was Miami, if it was A&M, if it was Fresno State, USC, whoever, down the Rice, that was an impressive performance from the Texas defensive line. They got consistent pressure, they got consistent push, they own the line of scrimmage, they never let up, they were relentless, they're deep. You got Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat was just absolutely phenomenal, coming off of his best game as a Texas Longhorn. And then you got Alfred Collins, who's finally living up to the his 5-star status as a recruit. So the talent is there in the D line, and the backups, the depth is there as well for them to consistently own the line of scrimmage against whoever. And so it's a possibility that they can do that against Alabama, and it'll be even more impressive if they can do the same thing to Alabama that they were able to do against Rice. I mean, of course, it's Alabama. They're talented. They're big. They're gonna get yards. They're gonna, make plays. But if the Texas defensive line can keep them out of rhythm and could consistently force them into, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 7, as opposed to 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2, that keeps this game really interesting and makes it very difficult for Alabama to run away from Texas. Um, the linebacker spot for Texas, you got, preseason All American, preseason Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Jalen Ford. Strong spot on the defense. Solidified. I already caught a pick, tackles. He going pro. Next to him is the weakest link on the defense in David Bender. That's no disrespect to David Bender, but he lacks experience. He's been in the program for a long time, but lacks playing experience, and he's just not as assignment sound as you might want your will linebacker to be against Alabama. So if there's something for Bama to exploit on the ground and in the passing game, it's gonna target David Bender, 33. Just watch the game, mark my words. I'm not wishing it on homie or nothing like that. Of course, I want him to succeed. So, but I think if I were Bama, if I were Tommy Reese, if I'm Nick Saban, I'm sitting there and saying, like, our best chance to have a scab to pick at when we gotta have it, when we need to go to it. Let's find a way to get 33 involved defensively for Texas. The secondary strong. They're too deep at field corner, boundary corner. Um, the safeties are experienced and talented. So you got, Jalen Catalon. He's experienced versus Bama's receivers and, the looks that they present in their passing game and everything. So it won't be too big for him. He's been to Bryant Denny before. I think I'm almost damn certain he's probably the only player outside of, the Bama transfer, Keelan Robinson, the running back for Texas, and the coaches who's actually been inside of Bryant Denny Stadium and played in that atmosphere. So he won't be intimidated. And having a safety with that type of experience, along with that type of talent, is a valuable add for Texas. So defensively, Texas is going to hold up. I think defensively, Texas is going to be there. How well can they hide David Bender? How well can they make up for any type of mistakes that he may make, any type of leaks that they may get there? Can they prevent big plays? I mean, I'm not putting the entire onus on David Bender to carry the Texas defense. Like it's still gonna have to be 11 guys getting after it consistently, giving it their best, play after play after play, because of the atmosphere you're gonna be in and the talent that you're up against. But if they can find ways to limit the big plays, David Bender consistently assignment sound, minimize the mistakes, minimize the bad reads and false steps and everything like that, and be disciplined. No stupid penalties. Not too much jumping off sides. Don't give him extra set of downs with a push and mill roll when he done stepped out of bounds. By 2 feet and everything. Those are the type of things that aggression that you need to have when you're playing against Alabama. It can come back and bite you. If Texas can keep their poise defensively, they're gonna be able to hang with the Alabama offense. Um, you know, Defensively for Alabama, you know, it's not the same. Will Anderson is gone, but Dallas Turner is back. For Texas fans, we want our get back about that. I'm not saying to go out there and target the young man or anything like that, but Dallas Turner is a name that we remember. He's the guy who laid the hit on Quinn Ewers, that ultimately put him out for the rest of that game and a couple of more weeks last season. So I'm almost certain uh, Texas is trying to ensure that Dallas Turner doesn't get a free run at Quinn Ewers again. But that goes into a larger point of Texas protecting him in general, protecting Quinn Ewers in general. So, but again, Bama's got some injuries in the secondary with Malachi Moore shaking up a little bit. Jalen Key, I believe, is shaking up as well. So, but the corners, they'll hold down. Kool-Aid seemed like he been there 7, 8 years now. I done heard his name so much that I done got used to the fact that a motherfucker's named Kool-Aid. So that just kind of show you how long Kool-Aid McKinstry has been on the field for Alabama. Opposite of that, the safety freshman Caleb Downs. If you lose a Malachi Moore, that's somebody who he's constantly having to communicate with and maybe keeping him in the right spots and confirming his communication and everything in that secondary. Malachi Moore being out, I mean, it's Bama, so I'm sure the backup is capable, but you take what you can get versus in Alabama from a guys being down standpoint. I was trying to find the right words because I don't want to sound like I'm rooting for any of these kids to not be able to perform or not play or anything like that. As a Texas fan, if you win this game, you want to win it, full strength. You don't want to win it the easy way. You want to go in there and earn the shit. So, the Bama pass rush, uh, they didn't overwhelm Texas last year. I think they were effective. They stuffed the run like a motherfucker. And I'm interested to see how does Texas choose to attack a defense that they don't overwhelm you with like big plays and big crushing hits and everything. It seemed like, but they just smother a motherfucker. Like it's gravy, white, brown with Popeyes biscuits. Like you cannot breathe against these motherfuckers. Can you find enough creases in the run game? Can you connect on your deep shots? Can you, consistently move the chains, put together drives? Do you convert when you get into the red zone? Can you have to change up your looks and everything, or are they marrying you to one particular look? It's a lot of things that go into taking on this Alabama defense, but like I said, they're well coached. It's Nick Saban. You know that he's out to prove a point. So I think they're getting ready to throw some shit at this Texas offensive line that I don't know. We just gonna see. So that brings me to my last unit, the Texas offense. Quinn Ewers did not look great in the season opener versus Rice. That was a byproduct of the Texas offensive line not looking great. Kelvin Banks even gave up a sack, even though in review I don't think it was really his fault that the sack occurred or anything like that. But they just seem to lack a certain cohesion that you kind of, even if it's not there all the way, they're not all the way jailed yet. you don't want it to show up and be exploited by Rice. Rice was, throwing some twists and some stunts at him, and it was getting the best of him. I mean, it was obvious that they were not communicating well. Well, that was at home with a ho hum ass crowd, lackadaisical game, no real noise, no real nerves, no real jitters. What are you gonna do when it's Alabama, All Americans, 4 stars, 5 stars, NFL guys littering the field, and you got 102,000 screaming in your ear? Well, like, how do you handle that situation if you didn't handle hosting Rice very well? So that's the biggest question mark in the game is the Texas offensive line, and are they ready to recover? I think Kelvin Banks is up to the task. He was up to it last year. I think Christian Jones at right tackle is up to the task. He was up to it last year. But when you get into that interior, that's where shit can get ugly. And I mean, the interior of your offensive line being broken down consistently is gonna screw up your whole game plan. No matter how much skill talent you have on the outside, you can have all the AD Mitchells, Xavier Worthies, JT Sanders, Jordan Whittingtons in the world. It doesn't matter if the middle of your offensive line is constantly getting smashed. You're not going to be able to run the ball. And if the run threat is gone, then the safeties are just hanging back. The you're not going to get the deep shots that Sark loves to, draw up and scheme up and have open. So Texas needs to be prepared to win this game a slightly different way than Sark might prefer. I know Sark usually he wants to get the big play and get chunks and run the ball consistently. But if you're not able to run the ball consistently, you need to generate yardage in a different type of way. A lot of people have been suggesting, hey, he might need to take a page out of Greg Davis's '08 playbook with Colt McCoy, Jordan Shipley, and Quan Cosby and those guys. Not to say that they're not more talented than them, but they didn't have the most consistent run game, but they were able to constantly and consistently generate yards and first downs by using the quick passing game as a chain mover and as a run game, really a pseudo run game. 4 yards here, 6 yards there, 8 yards here, 15 yards there. And then eventually, that opened up some shots for 25, 30 yards, 40 down the field. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. And then Quinn has to be consistent. His footwork needs to be on point. He loves throwing off that back foot. He's blessed to be able to throw with less than perfect mechanics, but oftentimes in situations where you got to deliver and you going for those kill shots and big shots and deep plays, his mechanics are off and it reflects in those passes. It doesn't reflect when, oh, I can hit this hitch the way I need to and side arm it or whatever, or getting this curl out or the deep out or whatever. He can make all the throws, all the NFL throws, but he can do it on platform, off platform, whatever. But if your offense is designed to thrive off of a pass that you aren't consistent in your motions with, and you are consistently hitting, that gives the Alabama defense so much of an advantage in this type of game that it could be derailing to any chances that Texas has. So again, like I said, I'm interested to see how Sark and the offensive line respond, and Quinn Ewers responds as well to his performance from last week. Interested in that. Also interested to see if the plan that they had to respond to how they performed and how they plan to attack Alabama doesn't show up. Do they then have a pivot? Do they then have it in them to do whatever it takes or what needs to be done or what they can accomplish to win this game? So, I mean, those are storylines. That's my breakdown and everything. All right, let's get to it. A prediction. I'm finna drop my nuts. So I'm going with Texas 27, Alabama 23. Texas 27, Alabama 23. Um, it's a close game. It's fairly low scoring through majority of the first half and middle of the third quarter. We're probably looking at something like 17-14 or something like that. I don't know. And then in the fourth quarter, the playmakers start to step up, and they've kind of figured out, all right, this is if I'm gonna both sides. If I'm gonna win the game, this is what I'm gonna attack. So we have sort of not a track meet fourth quarter, but an entertaining fourth quarter. And defenses make some plays. Like whoever wins this game, who mark my words, whoever wins this game, their defense is gonna create a short field for their offense, and this probably gonna be the deciding score, whether it's Texas or it's Alabama. Texas is not winning this game without creating at least one turnover or one explosive play, special teams like a punt block or a long kickoff return or a long punt return or something of that nature. Like something always needs to go right outside of offense and defense just playing well for the road team to win matchups like this one. So give me Texas 27, Alabama 23, and one of the biggest upsets in recent years. And that's not to say Texas isn't talented and everything. I think people actually believe in this Texas team more than they have any in recent memory, and that's why I'm confident in making this pick. If I'm wrong, fuck it. At least compete. I do not see either side being blown out in this game. Just due to context. Alabama with a new starter at quarterback and Tommy Reese and everything. Texas with the offensive line that has questions. They're not ready to run over anybody or run away from anybody quite yet. But pick a best unit in the game. The worst unit in the game is probably the Texas offensive line. The best unit in the game is probably the Texas defensive line. The overall unit that I think makes the most plays is the Texas defense, and that's why I'm giving an edge to Texas. All that shit can go out the window. I know it can, but it's a little bit of hope in there for me. I want it. I want the win. Texas needs it. So why would I go into this matchup lacking any type of faith or belief in that they can get it done? This is the team we was told to believe in, and so shit. Here's their chance to prove it. But again, we'll see how the game unfolds. Saturday night, I'm looking forward to it, man. Uh, Drop your predictions in the comments or any type of commentary that I might have overlooked, and we'll see how it turns out. Fuck with me. Appreciate y'all locking in.